YouTube. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. Right, so today I'm going to be talking to you about how to achieve the light body. I'm going to be talking to you about two methods that can be used to achieve the light body. Those of you who are practicing the 90-day Warrior Lightning Qigong up here at thunderwizard.com, those of you who are doing that, don't worry, you are already doing both methods. And that's eventually what we're going to get to, is how combining both of these methods actually increases the ability to achieve the light body. This practice that I'm sharing with you is a practice that has been kept secret for at least a couple thousand years, and it is a practice that was heretofore, to my knowledge, I don't know of any other practice, tradition, or teacher that accesses this particular energy. So there are two main energy systems that people use and that you have heard of, and there are open methods and there are hidden methods of both of these. And one of these energies is called chi, or prana, life force energy. This is the life force energy that is in all things: rocks, plants, trees, oceans, sky, earth, also within your body. Whenever you breathe in life force energy, but you also have energy systems within the body that can create life force energy, absorb it. So that is one method. People achieve the light body over many decades of working with traditional chi or life force energy. The second method is kundalini. Kundalini is not the same as chi. Many people mistakenly will tell you, if you ask them what is kundalini, they'll say kundalini is the life force energy of the universe, and that is not accurate. Kundalini is a energy source that is only within the human body. Specifically, it is rooted in the at the base of the spine, and it uncoils itself and it moves up the spinal column, and as it moves up the spinal column, it stimulates and opens up different energy centers along the spinal column, which are called chakras or wheels. And these different chakras are points of psychological maturity. So whenever you work through a chakra, you are working through something having to do with becoming mature about that aspect of reality. And there are 7 realms of psychological activation that only humans go through. And so this is kundalini. And when you combine kundalini and life force energy, they work together to stimulate each other. So there is a third energy system which has been kept secret. Now, I've been working with this energy system and this particular meridian system since my late 20s. But I didn't know that it was a different system. My teachers may not have even known that. The fact that it got out to somebody like me was kind of a fluke. And in fact, when I first learned it, I had a visionary experience where I was told, "You've been chosen to learn this." Now I know why. But as I was training in that method, I knew from personal experience how incredibly powerful it was. I mean, I sometimes, when I was training really hard, I could just touch somebody or barely touch them, and all kinds of crazy things would happen to them. I'd have the ability to walk into a haunted house and have all the ghosts get up and scream and run out of the place. Something was going on. I couldn't understand what it was. I just thought I had found a really powerful Chinese life force energy practice. We talked about it as though it was life force energy, except it wasn't. I didn't know that then, but I was tapping into a completely different although related system of energy, which is called the heart mind, and it literally uses the power of lightning. You have this within your body, but you can't access it if you don't know the triggers to access it and release it. So when you combine all three of these energies, life force energy, kundalini, and the heart mind, the lightning power of the heart mind, and you put them all together, now you're dealing with the kind of energy that you hear in the legends and the kind of things you see in the Chinese martial arts fantasy movies. Now you're starting to deal with really powerful energies. And so this is what I'm sharing with you. And I have reverse engineered from the practice that I've learned. Those of you watching me who have practiced it, you're now appreciating the fact that I'm reverse engineering it. Because I'm reverse engineering it so I can give you more control to go in and isolate the energy one step at a time, as opposed to what I went through, which was I was just thrust into these practices, very advanced. No, don't get me wrong, I was grateful that and happy to have gone through it. But the kind of transformation I went through was horrific. And so I have ever since been looking for ways to share this with the public in increments that humans can handle. Those of you watching say, oh, I could handle it. Oh, I can handle it. Talk to the people who've been doing it. I haven't even got to the highly advanced levels yet. Talk to the people who are doing it. They're like, no, I need to back off a little bit. The energy is really intense. My life's getting better, but holy crap, there's a lot of, it's my favorite example of this is Dr. Manhattan. When Dr. Manhattan went through his transformation, let's see if I can find him here. Where's Dr. Manhattan? He's around here somewhere. Did I miss him? Let's try again. When you see the way that Dr. Manhattan, if you know that comic book character, what he went through in order to achieve his empowerment, that's what it's like. Here he is. So if you want to have the kind of experience that he had, then you go straight to the most advanced levels, and this is what it will feel like for you. You tap into that lightning power, you become completely dismantled, and then you have to put yourself back together. When you do, you end up having powers that you didn't know were possible that humans can have. So this is the kind of energy that we're talking about here. So there are two methods to accomplish this. And we're just talking about this one method. But this is also true in other methods, whether it's just life force energy or kundalini or the combination of those two. You still have two options, at least. And one is the internal method. The internal method is what I teach last. And the reason why I teach that last is because, I suppose, I should teach it first. Historically, in this path, you were taught the internal method first, but you had to do it for 20 years. You had to do this internal method every single day for 20 years before you could accomplish your light body activation. And the internal method is very powerful, and I use it. I use it after I've done my external method, and then I do the internal method. So the internal method is a specific meditation where you activate the three centers in the body. So all of us have these three centers. We're actually not one being. We are a community of beings. You identify with the soul, which is in the center, and all of the other beings in your body that work as one are actually focused on the soul. And this is you, this is who you identify as, this is your identity. So in the external method, the first thing you do is you stimulate all three of these centers, and then you bring them out of the body. You align them with the three centers of the universe, because all indigenous practices that I'm aware of, when you go far enough, including Christianity, you go far enough back in time, you will find that there is a belief in a Trinity that governs the universe. Christians call it God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. But there's nothing in the original Christian teaching or the Jewish teaching from which it came. There is nothing in that about a Trinity. This was imposed upon Christianity. And when you ask a Christian, show me in the Bible where it talks about the Trinity, you will see them jump through all kinds of hoops to try and pull different scriptures out to bring it together. But anybody with two eyes can see this is imposed. And that's because Europeans had a very deep indigenous belief in a Trinity. If you were Norse, you believed in the powers of Odin, Vili, and Ve. If you were an indigenous Sanskrit person living in Central Asia or in India, then you believed in the powers of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. If you're a modern day New Age person, you believe in mind, body, and spirit. Practice Tai Chi. Tai Chi believes in the three ones, and one of the names for it is heaven, earth, and man. And these correspond with these three centers: heaven, earth, touching the navel center, and human beings, which is the soul. So this internal method is a visualization, and you use breath and other techniques to stimulate the connection to all these three energies, and you visualize bringing these energies out, and they merge with the Trinity that exists objectively in the external universe. And then you bring them back in the body, and you are internally using a method to shift your frequency to the frequency of perfection that exists outside of you in the external universe. That, from the ancient writings about that takes 20 years of daily practice. 20 years of daily practice, and if you're lucky, you'll achieve it. So that's the internal method. The external method is considered to be sorcery. It's considered to be black magic. Because in essence, you're cheating. Because the body itself, the human body, the nervous system, the meridian system, these three energy centers, the 5 organs, all of these things are a holographic representation of the universe. You didn't know that, probably. So this is why in Taoist medicine they work with the 5 elements. The 5 elements are the 5 organs. The 5 organs on the base level function to purify the blood and keep the heart pumping and to get oxygen in the blood, and all the things that the 5 organs do. But that's just the base level. Those organs are also energy capacitors that are designed to take in the 5 elements and to purify the 5 elements and enhance your power. You can achieve tremendous power and magic just by learning how to use these 5 organs, the 5 emotions, the 5 elements, in order to affect outside reality. And then you have the 3 ones here. When you learn how to purify and empower these 3 energy centers with different forms of energy, then you become like a god. Because what is God other than, the Christians have one aspect, right? God is not one, God is 3. God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, upper, lower, and middle. When you have all 3 of those, you get to another level of power over external reality. But the thing that makes this particular practice so powerful is that there are physical levers. You don't have to spend 20 years perfecting the visualization. You don't have to spend 30 years emptying your mind and cleaning out your unconscious mind. because that's what all that stuff is. Zen meditation for 30 years, 40 years, you're cleaning out and purifying your unconscious mind and your lower self. When you know what the physical levers are, which are nothing more than postures, movements, knowing how to cock the wrist in one way and have certain fingers touch each other, in a certain breath, face a certain direction, and you put these movements together, you're like grabbing the levers on the body that then go to this hidden energy within the body, which is called the heart mind. Now that sounds very peaceful, but it's not. You have the heart, which is the soul. So in traditional Chinese energy practice, you have the right-hand path, which is which is Jing, and then Qi, and then Shen. And so you work upwards, starting with the Jing, which is the basic physical energy, which is associated with the sexual energy. That's why right-hand path, they have to be celibate for a long time. And then that moves up to the lower center and then starts to create life force energy. So your life force energy expands. And then it moves up to the heart center, to the masculine center of the heart, which is the Shen, or the soul, the spirit. That's the right-hand path. The left-hand path doesn't even bother trying to deal with the sexual energy, although if you choose to be celibate, it will empower you and help you. We go straight to Qi, and then Shi, which is the heart, and then Yi, which is intent. So you go from life force energy to the heart mind to intent. Now, this heart mind energy is associated with the fire element because, of course, it's the heart, it's the soul. The soul is made up of pure light, which is fire. The light of the sun is pure fire. And it is feminine. So it's a feminine fire heart center energy. Now, what you don't realize is that the most powerful energy is the feminine energy. One of the reasons that Western society is patriarchal is because on an unconscious level, Western society is trying to suppress the overwhelming power of the feminine. So much so that you have been led to believe that men are more powerful than women, and they aren't. If I wanted to deliver a lethal blow in the martial arts that I practice, I would tap directly into the feminine. And anybody who's, you got in a fight with a guy, he's going to stand there and he's going to yell at you and he's going to face off and he's going to do this. A woman you're never going to see her coming. A woman decides she's going to take you out. She's going to do it when you're sleeping. She's going to cut off your doohickey. She's going to make you the most beautiful dinner in the world, have sex with you, and then she's going to do you when you're asleep. She's going to give you poison that's going to end up being the longest, most horrific way to die. She's going to figure out what makes you tick, and she's going to come at you in ways you never saw coming, and she's going to make you kill yourself thinking it was your idea. Power of the feminine is not something to mess around with. What is that? There's no power worse than a woman scorned. That's accurate. Now, Western society has, over the past couple thousand years, has suppressed that to the point where we don't even realize it anymore. Because now when you watch a movie, whether it's a science fiction or a horror or a thriller, who's the person that's the bad guy? It's always a big, tough, strong guy. He's an evil genius. He's Dr. Lecter. But when you watch Chinese movies that still understand this, the evil person is always a witch. It's always a woman. And she always has supernatural powers. And she's been hurt. She's angry. She's been damaged or abused. And she's getting revenge on the world, and she's horrifically frightening. And we still have bits and pieces of it in Western fairy tales, which go back when we were going through the transition in the Middle Ages from the feminine to the masculine. And they'll tell you that the most frightening person in the fairy tales is the Wicked Witch. Not the Wicked Wizard, but the Wicked Witch. Because the power of the feminine is there are stories of, there are lakes still to this day, I believe in Germany, where you have to be careful because weird stuff happens. And these were lakes where they did rituals to the Earth Mother Goddess, and they did like human sacrifices to the Earth Mother Goddess. And you didn't mess around with that. The goddess Hola, the Earth Mother Goddess, you have to be careful when she appears to you because you don't know what she's going to do. If you're out in the woods and you see a beautiful woman walking towards you, and if she turns around and you see either a tail behind her or you see the hollowed insides of a tree, you know you're dealing with Mother Hola. I'm getting chills thinking about it, and you have to be very careful what happens after that. The power of the feminine is not something to mess around with. But the power of the feminine is also the most powerful energy fighting negativity. In the Vedic tradition, the goddess Kali, you've seen pictures of her. Westerners mistakenly call her the goddess of death, which is absolutely false. She's not the goddess of death. She wears skulls as necklaces. She has a skirt made of severed human arms. Her skin is blue, her breasts are pendulous, her stomach is hanging out, and she looks at you and her tongue is hanging out and blood is pouring out of her mouth. That is the feminine. Now, the reason why she's so frightening is because she is destroying, she is eating the demons that are trying to destroy your spiritual progression. And it means when you see her in this form and she creates fright within you, it means that you are attached to your self-destructive negative aspects of your psyche. And she is coming to destroy, to free you. But if you're attached to it, you are going to experience her as this horrific demoness that's coming to devour you. But if you have let go of your attachments, if you have looked at yourself and accepted all of your limitations with love, which is I work very hard to help you to do, then when Kali comes to you, she will look as a beautiful young maiden. It all depends on you. Same thing with the goddess, the true goddess of death in the Norse tradition, which is Hela, means the goddess of the underworld. When you see her, she is half rotting corpse and half beautiful young maiden. And so that same aspect, depending on whether or not you are attached to those self-destructive things and you go to the underworld and you need to process the things that happened that you're still attached to, the hurt, the pain, your narcissism that you're still attached to, then you will see her, and that part of her that you see that is rotting corpse will be very frightening to you. And those people who go to the underworld and they have unpleasant experiences, it's all coming from them, because what happens, what I've learned about Hela, my experience with her, I was lucky enough to be allowed to go visit her once, and it was on the one hand the most healing experience, and on the other hand it was not necessarily pleasant. Because what I learned about her was that Hela is the underworld. She is the womb of the underworld. And when you are in the underworld, the walls around you are her, and those walls are pure reflection. And what you bring with you to the underworld becomes reflected on the walls around you. And then you see, as we talked about yesterday, nothing can be hidden. Everything will be disclosed. You see your true essence of what you're holding on to, your projections. And if you have self-doubt, hate, self-hate, any negative self feelings towards yourself, if you haven't worked through that and healed that, then when you go to the underworld, that gets projected around you. And Mother Hela loves you so much that she will not talk you out of that. She will sit there. Her body will reflect your unresolved issues. This is why I keep talking about working through the unconscious. This is why I keep talking to you about knowing what your unconscious agendas are. This is why I tell you to drop all victim mentality. All of the conspiracy theories, you must drop them, because those are your projections. Whether they exist or not is not the point. They are your projections. And when you go to the underworld, if you escape the matrix, like so many people who want to escape the matrix, because they believe that the universe is doing it to them, that there's an evil cabal of whomever, conspiring against you. If that is your reality, when you go to the underworld, guess what you're going to project? If you escape the matrix, I tell people, they say, how do I escape the matrix? And I said, who said you're supposed to escape the matrix? You have to first escape yourself. If you can heal the wounds within yourself, then the matrix will shift. You don't have to go anywhere. But if you haven't looked at yourself, at your unconscious agendas, your unconscious, unresolved pain, hurt, and trauma, your anger, your resentments, if you haven't dealt with those things and you were lucky enough to escape the matrix, guess what will happen? Those things will come with you and you will create another matrix of your own hell. So the power of the feminine is the most powerful source in the universe to work through these things. So let me dispel the idea that the masculine is evil and the feminine is just nothing but nurturing. Now, when you want to destroy something, you go into the feminine. You grab the power of the feminine. And that is why on the chessboard, the king is not the most powerful piece on the board, it's the queen. Any man knows this. Any heterosexual man knows that the right woman comes along. If you're a powerful man, she makes her way inside and gets inside of you. She's going to be the one telling you what to do. She's going to be the one telling you who to watch out for. And if she's on your side, you'll be the most powerful king that ever existed. And if she's not powerful, or if she's not righteous, then you better watch out. She's going to destroy you from the inside out. So this power is called, in the heart center, this lightning feminine power that surrounds the soul is called the king's bodyguard. And your soul, as you've heard me say, I'm repeating myself to many of you, the soul is an infinite point of light. That is you. And that infinite point of light is outside of space-time. It is outside of the three dimensions. In fact, if the soul itself were to be separated from your body and have access to three-dimensional reality, it would burn a hole through it. It would destroy three-dimensional reality, because you cannot confine infinity unless you have a strong enough force. That force is the force of lightning, and that power is feminine. And that power in the heart, that lightning power bounces back and forth and keeps that soul in a safe container. It protects three-dimensional reality from the infinity of the soul, and it protects the soul from the harshness of the duality of three-dimensional existence. So that is the most powerful energy in your body. And when you are damaged, when you are hurt, when you are betrayed, when any hurt attacks your heart, your soul, then what ends up happening is that lightning power will stop that attack and hold on to it. And all of that lightning energy goes to hold on to it until you are ready to then sit down and grieve, mourn, look at your own narcissism that got you into the problem to begin with, And then that lightning power will then go back to empowering the soul and keeping the soul safe. But if you want to be a sorcerer, you are cheating. I'm telling you right now, you're cheating. You are going to pull the levers of your body with different mudras, different postures, in order to tap directly through the meridians of the body into that lightning power and release it into your body, which then will make it available to you to release into the external world. And this is the power of achieving the light body. This is the Ascension. Now, those of you who've been doing the practice, you know, I told you, you may not remember, but I told you that you were going to go through a transformation and you must be prepared. And I'm telling you ahead of time now, you're going to go through a huge transformation to get this power. And you all nodded your head and you said, yes, I know. And then you went in and you then went, okay, I didn't know. I didn't realize this was going to happen this way. And now you're having a lot of emotions come to the surface. And you contact me as you should, and you say, I don't know what's going on with me. Why is this happening? And I say, this is a good sign. This means that you are tapping into the energy. And I say, is your life getting better? And you say, yeah, my life is getting better. I've actually healed from a couple of physical issues, and I'm making more money, and I'm sleeping better, but I have all of these crazy feelings. I'm like, good, now you're conscious. Because that lightning force that is protecting the soul, all of those traumas from just going through life, you know, growing up with imperfect parents, growing up in two-dimensional reality where people hurt you and betray you, and all the things that happen, your heart center, your lightning heart mind has grabbed onto all these different wounds and is holding on to them. And now you've said, okay, I want access to this energy, and the energy goes, oh, okay, and releases them to give you the energy, but then you're now fully conscious of all of these unresolved things. And that is why in our practice we seek to become nothing. And the ironic thing is, when you become nothing, you become incredibly powerful. The other irony is you're seeking after power now because you feel so disempowered. You feel, if I could have this power, this sorcery, I would be, you know, whatever it is you think would happen. And I say, sure, let's do it. Put your hand here, do this hand here, put these fingers together, say this, and then you do that, and then you feel the power, and then all of a sudden you have to work through the emotions. You work through the emotions, and all of a sudden you realize, no, actually, I really don't want that power. I have it now, and I can snap my fingers and do this and do that, but I don't care anymore. I'm comfortable within myself. So ironically, you end up working through all of your issues. So this is why I don't judge anybody. They want to become immortal. They want to become a superhuman. They want to achieve power. I say, great. Let's go after it. Here's how you do it. Because I know in order to get to that power, you will have to face all of your unresolved issues and become nothing. And when you become nothing, you free up more hard drive inside of you. That lightning power becomes more available to you. And then you start to know what it's like to be a God in flesh. So the external method, there you tap into the 3 types of energy, which I'm not going to tell you which fingers, but 3 of the 5 fingers are associated with 3 of the energies. One is the spirit. Another one is essence. And the third one is manifestive power. And so again, I won't tell you which fingers they are, but 3 of these fingers, you can focus on one to get one of those powers. You also have the 5 elements. Now, there's the 5 elements in the body, but then within this heart center, there's also 5 elements within this lightning of the heart center. And so different parts of the hands, like I won't tell you which, but the tip of one of these fingers is the wood element, and it's not the one that you're thinking of. By the way, I did a video a long time ago about the 5 elements and the fingers. You can forget that. I've moved beyond that. That's not that that video isn't powerful in and of itself. It's a whole other system. So if you want to forget that, you can. One of the tips of one of these 5 fingers is the wood element, which gives you the power of ether, the power of expansion. That power in martial arts gives you what's called the heavy hand. If you tap into that power and you barely touch somebody, it'll feel as though you just dropped a 10-pound rock on their chest. You can drop somebody just by tapping them. And that's by learning how to stimulate the meridian at the end of one of these fingers. Another one of these fingers goes to the triple warmer, which is there's a conduit that goes from the heart center, the lightning center, and goes down into the navel. This is called the triple warmer. When you combine the forces of the heart center and the triple warmer, then you combine the powers of chi with the shi, which is the heart mind. And that is also very powerful. There's a place on the hand, which I won't tell you where it is, but there's a point on the hand where if you stimulate that point of the hand, you go directly to the fire element of the lightning power, and this will give your hands the ability to transmit energy just like you see in the movies. It'll give you healing powers in your hands. People will, when you touch them, people will talk about how hot your hands are. Your hands will start to become very soft, and they'll go, the skin on your hands is so soft. And one of the ways is if you tapped into somewhere on the hand here, there is the fire element. You can tap into the earth element somewhere on the upper arm here. I won't tell you where. But just by changing the position of your hand and your wrist, you turn the earth element on. And if you know how to assume that posture and you strike somebody with that, just for example, it'll drop them right to their knees. It'll feel like it just goes straight down in the body directly to the earth. I've also used that for people, and I've used that and touched people, and they've immediately gone into trance and talked to their ancestors. This is the power of the earth. Now, I wasn't trying to make that happen. That was obviously something that was supposed to happen. But people said, okay, let me feel the earth element. And I barely tapped them and put the earth element in it. Out. Person said, I feel weird. Something doesn't feel right. They lied down, went to sleep, got up a few minutes later and said, I just was with my grandfather. And he told me all these things about you, and I had this and that, and this is the power of the earth element. Then you have the water element, which is somewhere here. I won't tell you where, but if you learn how to move the hands in a certain way or move the arm in a certain way, you'll stimulate that meridian, which goes to the lightning center, and you get the water element, which is very healing. And you can learn to heal people with that. And then there's the metal element, which I won't tell you where that is either, but that's somewhere on the upper part of the arm. If you stimulate that by putting the arm in a certain position, this will give you the power to slice through negativity. It will give you the power to see. This is why one of the reasons I have the ability when people write a question, I go, what you really want to say is this. It's that metal power, to be able to see through things. And this is why the people who created this were called sorcerers. They had all of these incredible powers associated with the lightning power of the heart that the other guys didn't have. So, if you've ever been involved in any Taoist anything, I've talked to Taoist masters and abbots, and they will say, oh, that particular sect, which is called Mao Shan, they'll say the Mao Shan, oh, those guys are evil. You have to stay away from them. But historically, whenever any of the other Taoist mountains had problems with evil spirits or some threat, where did they go? They went to the Mao Shan. They said, can you guys help us out? And then the Mao Shan guys would come in and fix the problem, and then they'd go back to the mountain, and then they'd sit around and tell everybody else, don't go to those Mao Shan guys. Those guys are sorcerers. They're evil. And they needed to fight against an evil spirit. Let me tell you what an evil spirit is. An evil spirit is nothing more than a consciousness, whether it be human or otherwise, that refuses to acknowledge its pain. When you refuse to acknowledge the pain that you've gone through, you are running the risk to become a demon. Because in order to face the light of purity, you must let go of your pain, your anger, your attachments. Why do you think there are so many people out there telling you, do not go into the light? They'll tell you that when you die, there are beings of light, false beings of light, who want to keep you from achieving reality. And what they're going to do is they're going to reincarnate you and send you back and siphon off your energy. That is an unconscious desire to not see your truth, because you don't want to feel the pain. And that is the opposite. So false beings of light, no. This is why Christianity says that Satan comes as an angel of light. Because Christianity is about suppressing your identity, suppressing your self. It's self, it's about the whole idea of sin, self-imposed negativity. So when you get this power of the pure light of the soul, you release all those lower vibrational attachments, including your pain, your anger, your resentment. But it's not a pleasant process, because you have to die. Ask Dr. Manhattan. You have to die to your limitations, and it feels like it's destroying you from the inside out. You feel like you've been completely destroyed. It's incredibly, if you look directly into the light. But then if you survive that, you reconstitute yourself, and you have achieved ascension. This is the process we're talking about here. So I thought about telling you which fingers did what and which parts of the hand and the body did what, but I'm not going to do that, because I think it's in your best interest to learn that in the proper method. As I said, I am reverse engineering these things to teach you. In case you're wondering, what is it that he's reverse engineering? Well, the meditation, which I'll tell you, which is the internal method, I'll tell you eventually when you do the process. I will give that to you as a capstone that will solidify what you're going through. Excuse me. But the things I am reverse engineering are these practices, which, if you've watched me do this, these are right here. What I'm doing right here is I'm working with the 5 elements. So you don't know, but I didn't know, but I'm stimulating different meridians, which is a completely different meridian system than the traditional Chinese Qigong martial art thing, although you don't know that by looking at it. But when you start analyzing what's being stimulated, you know what's happening here. And then this one here is the more advanced one, and I'm reverse engineering these ones right here, which take you into a whole different realm of reality, because it opens up that heart center. Now, all of these movements are hidden within what looks like a Chinese Kung Fu martial arts practice, which it is. It's, in my experience, it's the most powerful martial arts practice I've ever come across. And everybody who's wanted to test themselves against me, regardless if they were literally guys that fought in the octagon, I always ended up slicing through them and frightening them. They never wanted to trade hands with me again. So this is what I'm reverse engineering for you. And I didn't know. I just had these practices. I did them. I went through the whole Dr. Manhattan phase and didn't really understand what the heck was going on. And now that I've been doing some research, and just recently when I started really looking at it again, I did some meditations and I talked with some beings, and I said, tell me, show me what is different about this, because I don't understand. Why is this so much more powerful than everything else out there? And I was led down a very specific path. And then I took that understanding and I did some research, which led me to some research into the meridian system associated with it. And then I went back and I applied it to the forms, and I went, oh my gosh, that is stimulating that point on the hand, and that is stimulating that point in the meridian system. And when you put those two things together, it opens up this portal, which opens up oh, no wonder I can go and do Tai Chi. I can watch somebody do Tai Chi and I can master some of the things that takes people years to master. And then I go to a Tai Chi master and I say, now do this for them, and they can't do it. Why? It's because that practice is teaching you. It's teaching you how all of these energy systems work, how all of these meridians work, and how to stimulate them. They're literally levers that you pull that are cheating, that take you directly to this heart, mind, lightning power that otherwise you would not have access to. Or it would take you decades of disciplined internal work to get just the slightest bit from it. So this is what I'm teaching, because we are getting to a point, we're already there. I mean, we're in a worldwide pandemic. We have the most powerful country in the world is still in serious danger of losing its democracy from within. The factions and the fights that are going on within the government of the United States have the ability to completely destroy the democratic nature of that country. If the United States ends up imploding and you see the fall of the Roman Empire, you're going to see us go into a modern version of the Middle Ages. You have this pandemic that is all over the world. And how many people? 500,000 people just in the US alone have died from it. And it's completely, totally upset the balance of power and how things work, and in between countries. I mean, you put these two things together, if they both go south, we're going to end up in a dark ages. So we no longer have the luxury to do things the old-fashioned way and go through things slowly. We need to cheat. We need the power of sorcery to go directly into this power. Now, the great thing is when you tap into this, you become connected to space-time. You seemingly have the ability to manipulate space-time. You seemingly have the ability to just stay bulletproof no matter what's happening. The changes that go on in your body physically and mentally, but you also have an ability to help others. We need to start creating travelers who are willing to be scouts that go off ahead of the rest of the human race and say, here's what's happening. Here's how we're going to evolve. We need to evolve to the next level. We're at a crisis point in our timeline where if we don't shift our frequency to a new timeline, we're going to end up in, like I said, a dark ages. So that's what this is. I don't care what your motivations are. If you want to do it to feel better, great. You want to do it because you're running off of your insecurities and you want to rule the universe, fine. You want to become a healer. You want to become a teacher. You just want to be free of the matrix. I don't care what your motivations are. That's what I'm teaching here at the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. Okay, so all of these links are there for you. If you want me to give you an energetic boost, then you can go to energyhealing.thunderwizard.com. I will give you a meditation, and then I will do my work, and I'll focus on you. And you may or may not have an experience, but that's what's called a transmission. It'll be a transmission of that lightning energy. Of course, subscribe, hit the bell button, smash the like button. And also, if you like these videos, then do me a favor and post them on your social media, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram. Get people to this channel, get more and more people to this channel. My goal is to get 1,000 people subscribed to this. I'm not necessarily going to wait for 1,000, but when I have enough, then we're going to start doing these meditations and projections together, where I may take you through the whole breath or some other thing, and then we're going to, together, either in person or through Skype or Zoom or whatever, we're gonna intend for the collective unconscious of the world to up itself to the next level. But I want to have enough warriors to do that with me. So my goal is to get 1,000 people doing this, but those are my plans. All right, I'm happy to take questions of any kind. Bear in mind that this is a question and answer. This is not a please dump your opinion. The best way to get the best reaction out of me is to ask me an honest question or to share with me your honest feeling. And but don't be offended if I do my thing and I say, here's what you're really asking, and I get to the point of it. All right, let's take a look and see what we've got here. So we've got Vincent.thunderwizard.com. He says hello. He is one of my Vedic astrologers, and he is giving a 30% discount. You can go to his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com. And then let's see here. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the quote. Renee Heel the Eagle says, question. During the toning of the triple warmer, so there's the six breaths, the 5 elements, and then there's a 6th one, which is the triple warmer. She says, during the toning of the triple warmer, I felt a blissful flow of liquid sensation from top to bottom. What is the difference between Shaktipat, Kundalini, and the triple warmer? I mean, I don't know that it matters. I don't know that I even have the answer to that question. Shaktipat just means the transmission of Shakti, which is Kundalini. So Shaktipat traditionally is Kundalini, but I would use the word Shaktipat for any energy transmission. It just means you're getting an energy transmission. Let me tell you what an energy transmission is. An energy transmission is used when a teacher wants to initiate somebody into their lineage. And what that means is you're being initiated into the frequency of the higher beings that are working through the teacher. Whoever the teacher is, a true teacher knows that they are an imperfect human. They also know that they are merely a symbol that the student's psyche uses in order to connect to the masters that work through them. This is why, again, you should pay your teachers. This is why, in traditional settings, you bow to the teacher's feet. It's not about the teacher. It's you are acknowledging the energies that are working through the teacher. Any teacher who does not admit and go out of their way to let you know that they are just human, any teacher who does not do that is dangerous, because they may be a conduit for higher beings. And this is one of the biggest problems. This is why when you have big cults and big spiritual gurus, you will find more often than not that they are narcissistic abusers. They've abused people, lied to people, sexually abused them. You find this is rampant, and that's because there's a good possibility they started out as a channel, but then they bought into the reaction that was coming from their students. Because the student, if a teacher is doing their job, the student will idealize the teacher. And that's a good thing, because that means that the student is opening themselves up to the spirits that are working through the teacher. The teacher is just a symbol. That's why you put the teachers, not that I'm saying to do this, but many people will put the teacher's picture on their altar, and they'll look at the teacher when they're doing their thing, but that's really just the symbol. You're working past the teacher, the symbol, to the energies that the teacher is working through. Now, those ascended masters will use whomever they choose. Somebody has the right brain for it, the right understanding, who can verbalize or teach, but that doesn't mean that person is squeaky clean. That person, Carlos Castaneda, Osho, just two examples, those are two people who were brilliant teachers but were actually very destructive people. So a true teacher is somebody who does not allow their students to deify them, but also allows the student to have their projection or their transference. If they idealize the teacher will let them have that, knowing and looking for the opportunity to get them past that. I run into this all the time. Those of you who work with me, some of you more than others, know that at some point you become very disappointed with me and you start telling me about how I did this to you or I did that to you or you can't work with me, and it's like, okay, that has to happen. Because then you get past your projection, your childhood transference, and then you start to learn and grow. When a student comes to me and they're upset with me and they're disappointed with me and they feel like I have disappointed them, I say to myself, oh good, now I can finally teach this person. Because the best way to learn from a teacher is to say to yourself, does this person have knowledge that I still need? And if the answer is yes, then you're going to stay with the teacher for yourself. Because you selfishly want the knowledge that they have. Then a teacher can teach you. Because then they can say, okay, you do this, and they'll tell you exactly what to do, and you'll do what they're telling you, not because you're wanting to please them, but because you want what they have. And that can only happen when you grow through your childish projections, which are both. The child will project perfection, and then the child will hate you as they're going through their transference, their transformation. So that has to do with Shaktipat. So if a teacher gives you an energy transmission, it really means that the energy transmission is coming from the ascended masters through them, and a good teacher knows that it's not coming from them. So what is the difference between Shaktipat, Kundalini, and the triple warmer? I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, those are intellectual things that, to be honest, I don't even know if I have the answer to that question, as I said. The thing is, you did the practice. You did the breath for the triple warmer, and you had that experience. And that's all that matters. If the technique works, just keep doing it. So, sorry I can't answer that question. Ganunga Greg. He's also one of my apprentices. He says, I'm reading the books of Carlos Castaneda on my channel, which I was going to do, and he beat me to it. And I think that's an amazing practice. As I said, Carlos Castaneda is one of those teachers who definitely was chosen by the universe. But he himself bought into his own narcissism, and he ended up being very destructive. But he's a brilliant teacher. I mean, what he teaches about living the path of the warrior and many of the practices, there's only a few things that I don't agree with, and that's in the last couple of books where he starts talking about the source of the universe, basically starting to talk about God as this narcissistic thing that devours you. That I wouldn't listen to. But all of the majority of his books up till the last couple of books are brilliant. So go on to his channel, Ganunga Greg. There you can see it there, GINNUNGA-Greg. He also has another channel of music that people are really enjoying, and that's just called ASMR Intent. So the letters ASMR and the word intent. Go check him out. Dabbler Deluxe question. So when you are meditating or doing energy work and the chest opens up, and you see white light behind your eyes. So again, a lot of assumptions there. So bear in mind, whenever somebody says, so if this, then that, that's not really a question. You're asking me to co-sign your assumptions, which may or may not be true. So let's see if your assumptions, in my opinion, are correct. So when you are meditating or doing energy work and the chest opens up and you see white light behind your eyes and feel super relaxed, is that the male or female part of the heart center? Might be none of those things. That is a common experience. That doesn't mean you've tapped into what I'm talking about. And if you've done the work, you know through experience that that isn't necessarily what I'm talking about. I have nothing against that experience. But what you're asking me is, you've done that, obviously. So what you're really saying, here's the better way to ask this question. Mahadeva, when I meditate, I feel my chest open up and I see white light behind my eyes and I feel super relaxed. Is that this, or this? So I think what's happening there, I think that's just a normal experience. That just means that I think you're just tapping into your energy system, the normal chi energy within the body, could even be kundalini within the heart chakra. But it just means that your brain has turned off, you're no longer operating from the intellect, and you're connecting to life force energy. If whatever practices that you're doing that gives you that experience, if you can replicate it, by all means do it, teach it to others. It'll be a very healing and powerful thing. I'm not convinced that it's what I'm talking about. I think that's something different. So if you haven't done this, I would recommend going and doing that and then comparing it and see if that's what you're experiencing or not. Okay, Renee healed the eagle. I idealized you. Oh, is that a question? No. No, yeah, I know that about you, Renee. I wasn't talking about you specifically. The idea of Shaktipat was important to me, and it gave me an opportunity to talk about teachers and energy and all that. So this wasn't about you, Renee. I know that. You and I are good. No other questions? So people have been getting on my case saying, why don't you do more, tell me when you're doing your live thing. So my live streams, unless there's waves, which I bruised my rib on Tuesday surfing, so I can't surf until I get that thing healed. It's been in fact, I can't do a lot of things. But so I wasn't here last week on time, but my plan is to be here every Saturday for you if you're in the United States. Saturday at whenever I showed up, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So I'm hoping to, if you guys want the live streams and you want to be able to show up, I'm hoping that a lot of people will show up on these. I have a lot of questions, but I don't see any more questions. Dabbler Deluxe, the Hool breath. So you're saying you're doing the Hool. See, that again, that's helpful. You have to tell me these things. You have to give me the context and you have to tell me the specifics. Otherwise, that changes everything. So you're telling me you're doing the Hool breath and your chest is opening. See, you made it sound like it was a bunch of different things. You said, so when you are meditating or doing energy work and this happens and this happens. So it sounded like you were sort of guessing, but you had a specific practice. This is what's happening for you when you do the Hool breath. In case you're new to the channel, this is the free practice that I allow everybody to do. It is my gift to the world. If you do this one thing, even if you do it just that for the rest of your life, you'll get everything. That you can just type into YouTube, H-U-U-L breath, and feel free to go do that practice. Do it 10 minutes a day. Watch what happens to yourself. So you're doing that practice, and this is what's happening to you, that you are feeling your heart open up. So you're saying when you do the Hool breath, you're feeling your heart open up. And then you're seeing a white light behind your eyes, and you feel super relaxed. Is that the male or female part of the heart center? If I had to pick, I would say the female, but it's not you're tapping into the lightning energy, but it's a very safe way to do it, which is why I give it away for free to everybody to do. So you will tap into that lightning energy in a very user-friendly way, and it is the feminine, the Hool, if you watch the video, that is the name for the Earth Mother Goddess. And that is her seed sound. And that is a very ancient seed sound that I think is probably 30 or 50,000 years old. And if you do that breath, you'll be tapping directly into the feminine power of the earth. So what that breath does is it grounds you and heals you. And you do, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it where you're just allowing energy to come down into the heart and fill up the heart. You can do the whole breath so that you're releasing excess heat out of the heart, out through the palms and out into the earth and through the soles of the feet. You can also use the whole breath to pull the earth energy up through the soles of the feet and pull it up through the palms of the hand and bring it to the heart. So you're merging the heart center, your heart center, with a cooling, nurturing, healing earth. When you do the Heaven Earth Qigong, which I believe is also available to people on my channel for free, when you do the Heaven Earth Qigong meditation, I think there's a playlist on my channel that does it. Then you can take heavenly energy and bring it down into the heart. So you're merging the heart center with the earth energy and the heavenly energy. So that, again, the Heaven Earth Meditation Qigong is one of those things that if you do for the rest of your life, you'll have everything. So you're just experiencing the benefits of that practice. I'm not saying that that is taking you directly to the really intense lightning energy where you're cheating and grabbing it. That's more of a user-friendly way of doing that. So it is the same, and at the same time it's not the same. But it's a good introduction to that energy. So I hope I answered your question there. This person says they've been doing it for over a year. It feels like the spine opens up behind the chest. And then the chest opens up and it fills up with white light, but it feels soft. Yeah, it sounds amazing. So yeah, that's your experience. And you might have gone to a level I haven't even gone to. Because I do so many practices. I've been doing the whole breath for 12 years now. That was when I was first given the whole breath. And so like I said, even at any one of these practices, in the Celestial Qigong and in the Warrior 90-Day Qigong, there may be one particular practice that somebody may feel drawn to. And that one practice, I give you the opportunity to do any one practice. The one thing that I've had to really focus on is, as I'm reverse engineering this, I know that people are learning via video. So if I teach them a practice where they have to do it in a certain order, and if they don't do it in a certain order, then they could damage themselves, I can't teach it. That's only something I can teach in person. So I always make sure that what I teach on video is as powerful as possible, but at the same time is safe enough so that even if you don't do it right, or if you do it out of order, or if you do what a lot of people do and they just pick and choose what they want, because I know that some people are going to do that, that even if you just take one of those exercises and do that, you will achieve whatever it is that you want. And even more so, like in your case, if somebody were to decide to become, I just want to master the whole breath, and they went and did the whole breath for an hour a day for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, then you're going to know more about it than I do. I am just I'm just the delivery man. I'm not here to try and tell you that I'm the master of any of this stuff. I'm like you. I'm just learning, and like a kid in a candy store. I'm just enjoying this stuff. But this is greater than me. I have no need to be the most powerful person in this practice. I have no need. So Dabbler Deluxe, you may be on your way to becoming a whole breath master. Maybe you know more about it than I do. And one of the things I want to do is I'm teaching this technology so that people will go out and teach. People want me to give them certifications to teach the Celestial Qigong, and I don't offer that. I could. I mean, it would be a good moneymaker. Maybe I'm stupid for not doing it. But I don't need to be the guy at the top of the pinnacle. It makes me happy. When I type in whole breath now on YouTube, before the only videos that came up were mine. Now I type in Hool Breath and I see 2, 3, 4 people who have learned it and are teaching it. And they're teaching it online. And I've never once, emailed them and said, stop teaching that, that's mine. I've never done that. The only thing I've done is when somebody created a video teaching and they started talking and they were using the exact name, Celestial Qigong. And then I said, please don't do that. I haven't given you my permission. Make sure you tell people that it's your version. I don't, because people, he was giving it away for a cheaper price, which is fine. But I didn't want people to go and think there were two choices, like, oh, his Celestial Qigong or the cheaper one, and think it's the same thing. Now, that's your version with your name on it. Put your own name to it and go teach it. You want to learn the lightning Qigong and you want to teach it, call it by another name. You don't need my permission to do that. What I want to not do is have people think that I've certified people that I haven't certified. I don't want to certify people. I want you to learn, and I want you to go and teach. I want you to decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to start a Qigong class locally, and I'm going to call it whatever. And it could be the exact thing that I teach. And you want to teach it and make money from it and do your own thing? Put your name on it. By all means, go ahead and do that. I want people to do that. Because like I said, it's not about me. And I could be stupid for doing it that way. If I really wanted to be rich, maybe I should do it the other way. But I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like people having to ask my permission for every time. You're smart enough to figure it out. You go practice it. You make mistakes. You find out, if you do this one too much and you don't ground, it causes this problem. You go figure that out, and then you teach your students. And anyway, like I said, I might be doing it wrong. Maybe I should be doing something different. 27 Patmos says, question, I've been practicing Celestial Qigong. Recently also started with the 90-day challenge. Sometimes when I go to sleep, I wake up and my hands are forming mudras. Well, then you, my friend, are one very lucky person. So one of the reasons that I use the word sorcery when I talk about this is because what sorcerers do is they seek to get direct teaching from the masters. You want to bypass me? If you think that I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm limiting you and you want to bypass me, this practice is one of those things that if, you're just by doing the practice, you're sending out the bat signal to all of the ascended masters. And wherever they are, they see that. You're going to do your practice. It's like the bat signal comes to them. They swoop down to see who's doing it. Who's doing that practice? And if they see in your aura, in your karma, that there's things you can learn, they'll start teaching you. I mean, this practice, the Celestial Qigong, this practice that I'm teaching now, I'm not just teaching, here's what my teachers taught me. I'm not cookie cutter teaching you. The things that I would do that. I have no problem with that. But as I'm doing it, I'm learning things they didn't know. I'm seeing different things. I am learning things that haven't been taught before. You're waking up in the middle of the night and your hands are doing mudras. That's the Grand Masters teaching you. Remember those mudras. Have a pen and paper or your phone or something. Write it down. Take a picture of it. Practice that. If it's a mudra I haven't taught you, then they're giving you something. There was recently, I'm glad you reminded me of it because I had a dream about something. I almost showed it. It was a mudra that was happening in a dream, and I woke up and I went, wow, that's interesting. And I had to remind myself of it because if you don't remind yourself of it, you'll forget. In fact, there was a whole period of my practice that I wish I had been filming. One of my students and I, we were working together, and he and I both, but him also. He was like, my hands wanting to go, and he started going into postures and mudras and forms. That's what these guys do. They teach forms. The forms that you see me doing that I showed you, those were spontaneously, shamanically channeled. And if you channel one of those forms, if you channel those mudras, then you're going to get something very specific that might do something far beyond anything I've ever taught. I'm just like you. I'm learning from them. So this isn't unusual, by the way. There are people who, you're dealing directly with, this is again why it's called sorcery, why people are so frightened of it. And this is why I can't try and control you. This isn't about me. I'm giving you techniques, and then they're going to work with you and you're going to learn from them. And who knows what incredible magical portal you'll open up by doing those mudras. But remember them and do them. And this is what the practice is eventually designed to give you. And I'm going to be honest with you. I get downloaded stuff that I record, and then I'm like, I don't know if I have the guts to go do that. Because I know if I do some of those things that have been transmitted to me, that I'm going to go through transformations that might be beyond my human ability. So again, just to humble myself and let you guys see that I'm just like you. And I love that. This is what I love about this practice. I love that I am giving you a technology, and you don't need to just worship me all the time. You can go and have your own connection with the gods and create whatever the heck you want. If you want to go and start your own channel and your own school based on that mudra that I didn't teach you and come up with your own understanding, go right ahead. More power to you. The more I'm wanting to empower the world to achieve its own enlightenment. We need to get beyond this idea of having to worship teachers. Respecting your teacher is a whole different thing. Respecting your teacher and worshiping their teacher. A good teacher, a real teacher, wants their students to surpass them. So if you end up surpassing me because you learned a mudra and it gives you something that I can't do or don't know anything about, I will only be grateful that I was part of the process. But that's what we're doing here. You want to be a part of that? You obviously do, 27 Patmos, but those of you watching be a part of that, you go to thunderwizard.com, you click around until you find Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, and you subscribe at that. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe next month. I'm looking for 1,000 of us. Can you imagine 27 Patmos if we get together and we have those kinds of mudras, and we have 1,000 people doing that kind of stuff all at the same time for a specific focus, and global warming, raise the vibration of the political structure of the planet. Can you imagine what we can accomplish? That's what I'm hoping for. So that's why you have to ask them. If you're waking up doing mudras, somebody's wanting to teach you something. So ask them. The other thing that can be happening is that your nervous system is seeking to balance an energy in the body, and the mudra is balancing the nervous system. So the nervous system is figuring out what it needs to do. That's the other thing that could be happening. Vincent.thunderwizard.com comment. I've been feeling a strong pull to teach Qigong locally in the park now that spring is right around the corner. Thanks, Mahadeva. Practices are really helping me transform. Yeah, go for it. And you should charge money. You should teach Qigong in the park, and you should charge people money for it. And I'm happy to, whoever you are. The stuff I teach, I work to make sure it's user-friendly, so that means if you teach somebody else, even if you teach them wrong, it'll be okay. Not that you would do that, but point is, don't try and be perfect. Go out and teach it, spread it. Okay, what else? Be a super spreader of Qigong. All right, anything else? Nothing else. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you for your time. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will see you when I see you.